Let me just ask you this. How would you like to go back to your childhood, even just for a minute? Just try to imagine it. The sights, the sounds, how you felt. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Childhood, it's a time that really, truly shapes us, right? It's this collection of moments and feelings and stories that make us who we are today. So in this explainer, we're going to dive into our own childhoods. We'll use some thoughtful questions to help you uncover and share your own unique story and feel good about doing it.
All right, here's our journey for today. We'll touch on your personal story, memories, both good and bad, your dreams, lessons from family, and what it means to be a good parent. The idea here isn't just to look back, right? It's to find a better, more engaging way to talk about your past and see how it all connects to who you are right now.
Okay, Section 1, Childhood, your personal story. Let's start with the most important story of all, yours. This first part is all about your personal experience, and we've got a couple of questions to get you thinking about the big picture.
Okay, let's kick things off with the big one. Question 1. Do you think you have a happy childhood? Why or why not? Explain with an example. So just take a second and think about that overall feeling. For some people, it's an easy yes, but for a lot of us, it's a little more complicated, isn't it? Was it mostly joyful or maybe a bit challenging?
And if you're kind of stuck on how to answer, here are a few ideas. You could start with something like, I believe I had a happy childhood because, and then just share a little memory that really shows that feeling. Words like carefree or joyful are great for the good times, and difficult is a good word if things were a bit tougher.
All right, so we've thought about the big picture. Now let's zoom in on one single moment. Question 2 is, tell a childhood story of yours. Talk about what happened and when, where, how it happened. Just try to pick one story that really stands out, the kind you can almost feel when you close your eyes. And hey, a great way to structure any story is to just cover the basics. Who was there? When did it happen? Where were you? And what was the main event? A really great way to start is with a line like, I'll never forget the time when. It just pulls people right into your story. Okay, on to Section 2. Memories, the good and the bad. Because let's face it, every story is built on memories, right? The good ones and the not so good ones. So now we're going to dig into those specific moments that really shaped who you are today. All right, here's our next question. It's number 4. What is your best childhood memory? How does it affect you or change you? So think about a moment that still makes you smile. But that second part of the question's really key. How does that memory still affect you today? See, the real magic happens when you connect that memory to who you are now. You could say something like, this experience taught me to be brave or kind or curious. When you explain how one little moment helps shape your personality, your story becomes so much more powerful. Okay, now for the other side of things. Question 5, what is your worst childhood memory? For example, you got lost or you were punished. I know these can be tough to talk about, but honestly, these memories are often just as important for shaping us as the happy ones are. When you're talking about a tough memory, it can really help to first just name the feeling. I felt scared, or I felt lonely. But then see if you can find the lesson in it. You could say, even though it was bad, I learned. It's an amazing way to show how you grew from that challenge. And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Our best memories, they teach us about joy, love, confidence. They shape our hopes. But our worst memories, well, they teach us about resilience, caution, and empathy. You really do need both to become who you are. All right, let's move on to Section 3, Dreams and Early Hopes. We're going to shift gears a bit and look forward, but through the eyes of our younger selves. This is all about what you dreamed of back then.
So here's question number 3. What was your childhood dream? For example, many children want to be doctors or scientists when they grow up. But what about you? Did you want to be an astronaut? An artist? A superhero? Come on, let that childhood imagination run wild for a minute.
Seriously, there are no wrong answers here. It's all about what you were passionate about as a kid. And try to think about why you had that dream. Was it inspired by someone you knew, or maybe a character in a movie? It's also kind of fun to look back and say, it's funny thinking about that now because...
Okay, this next one really puts us back in our childhood shoes. Question 7. What did you usually hope your parents to do or not to do when you were a child? Think about it. What did you really, truly want from them back then? Maybe more freedom, or more of their time, or maybe just less homework?
And that question is the perfect lead-in to our next section, Section 4, Lessons from Family. Now we're going to explore who our biggest teachers were when we were growing up and what exactly they taught us.
All right, here we go with question 6. Who do children usually learn the most from? Explain with your example. Now, your first thought might be your parents, and that's totally fair. But think bigger. It could have been a grandparent, a really great teacher, an older brother or sister, or even a best friend who taught you something you'll never forget.
Here's a super simple 3-step recipe to answer this one really well. 1. Pick the person. 2. Name the lesson they taught you, like patience or honesty. And 3. Give a quick example. Something like, my grandmother taught me to be patient by showing me how to garden. It just makes your story so clear and personal.
And that brings us to our final section, number 5, what makes a good parent? For this last part, we're going to zoom out a little and think about parenting styles and what it really truly means to be a good parent. But before we get to the next question, let's just quickly define 2 words we're going to use. First, strict, which means parents with lots of rules. And second, lenient, which is when parents are more relaxed and give more freedom. Of course, most parents are somewhere in the middle, right?
So, keeping those ideas in mind, here's question 10. Are your parents strict? Give an example to show they are strict or they are not strict. And when you answer, try to think of a specific example, like maybe a rule they had about screen time or a curfew. That'll really help explain your point. Okay, and here's our last big question for today. Number 9. What are good parents? What do they do or say? Explain with examples. This isn't just about your parents, but what's your ideal? What actions, what words do you think make someone a really great, supportive parent?
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From our best memories to our wildest childhood dreams. So I'll just leave you with this one final thought to take with you. What is one childhood memory you want to share with someone else? Remember, your stories matter, they're powerful, and they deserve to be heard. Thanks so much for joining me.
Join Beyond Norm Output Training to improve your speaking and writing ability without leaving home.